Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Michael, K4EST. And today on the workbench I have a Heathkit model IP-32 high voltage regulated power supply. Kind of excited about this one. I've got a couple things I use for high voltage supplies. It's not really ideal or what I'd like to be using. I had a Lambda Model 71 I used for a long time, and well, just to be honest, in a divorce it kind of disappeared, so I don't know what happened to that exactly, but I don't think anybody stole it. I think it just kind of got lost in the mess. But anyway, so it's probably off in the landfill or something now, and kind of sad, but I've come across one of these here, and this here will work just fine. As long as it works, but I'll do what I can here. We'll make this thing work. And the story with this one is, I'm always, looking on different forums online and online auctions, and this one was eBay. I was looking, and I'll go in a lot of times, and I'll say vintage test gear, vintage equipment, just because you never know what's going to pop up and have somebody list something. So a lot of times I'll say antique, vintage, tube type, things like that, and then I'll go in the little thing and I'll set it for nearest first. This was just down the road. I mean, 20-minute drive at the most, maybe. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and the price wasn't bad on it, and I was surprised, they wasn't hiring what it was, and so I hit the guy up, talked with him, and here it sits. So, just by going on the outside looks of it, it looks pretty good. I've looked through the vents. Looks like the tubes are there, or there is tubes in it, and it's heavy enough to where, because a lot of people, a lot of times will take this supply here and they'll rob the power transformer and sometimes both transformers, but the power transformer at least, and the tubes out of it, make an audio supply because it's got two 6L6s in it. And the other thing I noticed, this is not the original line cord that's on it right here, so I don't know, if it even works, or somebody's, because these things here are bad too. These capacitors go short in these things. You plug this in, you're going to take out the diodes in it almost instantly. Those diodes are gone. So, and this is kind of I don't know if you'd really call it a hybrid, but sort of hybrid. It's got the schematic here, a little small schematic. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got solid state diodes here and then two up here, and the rest of it's tube. They even use tube here for the diode. And the only reason I can figure why is because back in the, this Heathkit, they're trying to save money. They probably had a ton of these 6X4s, and they just trying to find a home for them. So that's probably what they did. But the rest of it's tubes and all that. So let's go over it real quick. And I don't plan on making a really long video out of this one. I'm going to go through and show you everything about it and go through it and do what I need to do to restore it and troubleshoot it, and we'll go through all that. But because, oh gosh, it's not even been a year, I don't think, maybe a year, that Paul Carlson restored one of these over at Mr. Carlson's lab. Did an excellent job of it. A really long video, went through everything, and he did a really, really good job of going over the schematic and how it works. Because it's kind of interesting how this unit works, how the regulation in it and everything works. A little bit different in a lot of them. There again, like he said, it may have been, they just used some stuff they had and say, okay, here's what we got. We got 100,000 of these tubes here that we got in for such and such project or a kit or whatever. We don't need them anymore. Let's find a home for them to, get rid of stock. So, who knows? But they did a really neat job. The engineer sat down and did a neat job on how it works. So and I'll link the video in below. I'll find it and link it in. And so even if you don't want to watch the whole restore over there, which he did a really good job of restoring, you can skip ahead to the part where you can see where he's got the, you'll see this, and you'll see the unit, and you'll see him going through it, but you'll see this all of a sudden, you know, like up close, and he's got it blowed up bigger, and you can watch him go through this schematic and tell you how it works, and it's really neat. Even answered a couple questions, you know, I had, you know, when I first seen it, and I looked at it, because a lot of times I like to watch there's several different people I watch, and they'll come to something I've not really come across before, and they'll come to the schematic and I'll pause it. Or I've been, you know, several times that before they even get that far, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm really interested in this. I'll go online, search and find a schematic, and sit and study it before I even see what they say about it, so I can see if, you know, I go along the same, you know, my thoughts are the same thoughts they are on it, or if whatever. And there's a couple things on this I was like, well, that's really weird. And he got into explaining it, and I was like, oh, I see why it's weird. But it's pretty neat. You know, highly recommend you go over there and watch that video. So I definitely want to get this restored and use it on the bench. So let's go over here real quick. We'll start, I guess, let's just start over here on this side. You got it says DC output voltage, you got your voltmeter, and you got a meter switch. This side over here is your C supply from 0 to negative 100 volts. So if the switch is over on this side, use this bottom scale here to go up to, you know, around 100 volts, which would be negative 100 volts. And if you flip this side, you come off this side, which is 0 to 400 volts, and that'll, you know, you can see the meter goes up. I guess, well, you might not can see. Let me come in just a little bit more there. Change the way this light is on it. I may have it. Sometimes it's hard to see this stuff. This goes up to 400 volts here. Okay, let's see. And then you've got your outputs here. Here's your C supply output. These two here is your 6.3 volts AC for filaments. If you're working on a piece of equipment and you can grab some filament voltage here for 6.3 volts to light your tubes up. You got your voltages here, you know, to, you know, put the proper voltages in to work on something. And you might be able to see from the schematic, I don't know, but you got a dedicated winding for this here, so it's not going to be anything else going to be interfering with that. And it's 4 amps for your filament supply here. You got your grounds, and then you got your B plus here. And notice I'm using a plastic thing. I don't know if this was plugged in or what, and I don't want to stick my finger in that, but this may not have been plugged in years, and it may have been plugged in recently. Like I said, this line cord has been changed out at some point, so I know somebody's been in this thing. So who knows, you know, what's going on there, and if it's had new capacitors put in it, you know, these good capacitors, they can hold charge for weeks and sometimes months, and it can hurt you really bad or even worse. So I go ahead and say right now, if you want to mess with one of these and take it apart, you're definitely doing so at your own risk, like any piece of equipment. But this one here has got a lot of voltage all over the place inside, and it supplies a lot of current. So definitely be very, very careful with this. And if you don't understand it or know enough about it, or you're kind of scared of it, just don't fool with it. Let somebody else do it. Don't put yourself at risk, because this has got a lot of voltage inside of it, especially when it's plugged in. But like I said, it's unplugged. If one of the resistors is bad or something, and something ain't draining down the capacitors, it can hold charge for a long time. So let's get to it and get this case off here, because I'm dying. I've not took it off. I don't know how it comes across on camera sometimes when I take something apart that I've not had apart yet, but I'm really curious to see this one, because this is something I want to use myself. I've already took the screws out. we go. Well, you can't see yet, but I can see that. Get to it in a minute here, but I see a lot of old capacitors in there. So let's see, make sure I'm not hurting anything. I've got it on this felt here, so the inside looks pretty good. It's got both transformers in it. You got your high voltage transformer, and you got your filament transformer for all your filaments. It's got separate filament windings for everything. And even, like I said, the one that comes out front, it's separate filament winding. The only thing on it is pallet lamp, if you noticed in the schematic. But all the proper tubes are in there that I can see so far. You got two 606s, 6X4, your two OA2s, I should say 0A2, 6BH6, and Daystrom. And this one here has had a lot of hands on it. Or somebody's really working it because they wore off whatever it is. I don't know if it's good or bad. They changed it, but not sure about that one. The rest of them is Daystrom, all Daystrom tubes. So I gotta be careful sticking my fingers at here. I don't wanna. When you're working on something like this, you always need to, be careful getting it around. Not stick your fingers into it. Get some more light in here now. Need to go through and discharge all these capacitors. So I'm not going to stick my fingers in there. But I always go through and discharge your capacitors. And it may look like I'm touching that, but there's, from where that is, there's that much room there. So, yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. So somebody's come and changed the line cord. I don't know why. A lot of times it'll be something's going on in the unit, and they'll go ahead and put a new line cord on it while they're changing something else. But it's got all the original capacitors, or their period anyway. If they've, some people's bad to do new old stock. And then, of course, some people go in and restuff these things. These, no, they've not been restuffed. So all these capacitors has got to go. It's got the original diodes in it, which is good. A lot of times these here's gone. If you look in the one that Mr. Carlson did, somebody went through and put different diodes in there. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 diodes, and they're all original and in there still. So hopefully they're still working okay. The resistors, see one here and one here that's a precision resistor. And we got all these other resistors are all, every one of them's Allen Bradley style. So that's good. It's a good start anyway. And don't look like, I don't see where anybody's really done anything. And sometimes it's hard to tell. Somebody built this as a kit because, the soldering jobs may not be the best, and you can see a glob here and a glob there, but the only thing I can see it's been done is somebody's come in here and putting these butt splice connectors on this, and you see there's the original gray wire. That's what color it would have been. And they've put this new line cord on it. They did a good job of twisting all the AC wires. Got most of them tucked against the chassis. That one's okay. They be tucked against the chassis. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So, will it work good? I don't know. But I'm not going to try it until I change all these capacitors out. So, let me get that done. I'll go in here and change all these capacitors out. And get that done, and I'll come back. I'll show you what I've done to it. I'll check all the resistors and check everything over a little closer, and we'll fire it up and see if it's working like it's supposed to. If not, we'll troubleshoot it and get it fixed. And so let me get that done and I'll be back. Okay, everybody, after a few days and the magic of cameras, I'm back here. Actually, it's quite a few days. I had a little sickness in the family going on there, having to go to the hospital and back a few times, and then on top of that, that's kind of settling down just a little bit, and a little bug runs through the house and everybody's throwing up. It's just one to the other. But anyway, this is supposed to be in the last video of 2019, but here it is going to be the first video of 2020 for this channel. But anyway, I'll just quickly run through this here. I replaced these capacitors in the power supply here. These here replaced. Check the diodes, they check out good, the original ones. And this here was this tie point here. You can see maybe there. This tie point here was back over here. Get that back kind of like I had it here. Was back over here. I just took it out. All it was a tie point for them two big capacitors that was sitting here. So I just took it out, drilled a little hole, moved it over here, and I didn't have any in stock, any actual lead for this. These are 68 microfarad, replace those 70s. So I put these like this here, standing up. That's okay, they'll work just fine. Checked out the resistors through here. For the most part, the potentiometers, I went through them, sprayed them, hit them, and ran them back and forth, sprayed them, running back and forth, sprayed them, running back and forth, cleaned them out good. Done all that. I didn't check the tubes. I'm just going to let the device itself check the tubes. We'll see how that goes. But, and then you remember this big piece of wire here that was coming in with that butt splice crimped on and going to here. I took that around. Maybe you can see right here I've got soldered it and did it properly here, and then I've got heat shrink on it, put it down next to the chassis. So that's all cleaned up a little better than it, and it was. Looks better. Let's see, what else did I do? I think that's it under there. Just straightened some things up, cleaned some things up, checked everything. And then on the front here, I get this here where you can see it. On the front here, you see the capacitors in the background over there that took out. Interesting, I always like to check some of these things after I pull them out, and some of these check good. I mean, they probably last a little longer, but who knows, how long they go. But so I'm guessing this thing's been used recently or been on, and they kept their form in there, and so thought that was interesting. Cleaned this up. There's some writing that was right here. It came off. Now this ink or this Sharpie or whatever that you can see here, it didn't come off real easy. I even used alcohol. Use a Sharpie or something, alcohol will take it right off. So I'm not quite sure what they used. So I'm just going to leave it for now, because more I was rubbing, if you can see it in camera, but there's a spot. When I was rubbing with the clean cloth and looking at it, you can see the gray paint start to come off. So I'm like, well, let's just stop there. Pulled the knobs off and cleaned them. And of course, when I dropped this in ultrasonic cleaner and cleaned it, this little white line of the paint came off. So I took white out. This right here is what I use. I don't know, I guess off-brand probably worked too just fine. but I've always used this and it works good. But I took that, put it on there, and then rubbed it off, let it dry. It dries pretty fast. And then just rubbed it off, and then scratched it. Take a thumbnail or something, scratch it, or even like a little plastic tool like this or something, just kind of go over it, and it'll leave that down in that impression down in there, and so it looks pretty good. It's set for a few days and got a little dust back on it here. So we are ready to fire this thing up. So what I'm going to do, let me get it set up to fire up, and I'll be right back. Okay, all ready to fire this thing up here. Make sure these are down. And we're gonna, one thing I want to mention real quick. I don't know, I know somebody probably caught it, but this right here, this should be an opaque green. Just this style, this year, any of the, I've got the signal generator over there. It has got the green on it. If you look up pictures, it's got the green on it. So somebody has either broke it or lost it, or they may have found a red one put in there to let them know that, hey, if this light's on, there's high voltage somewhere on the bench. Maybe that's it. So I'll probably leave it for now. We'll see how bright it is, if it's annoying, because you can see it's translucent. I can see the bulb in there. So if it's too bright, do something, tone it down, or get a green one and put it back in its place or something. But for the eagle eyes out there, somebody's going to notice that. Yeah, I noticed that too. I didn't notice it initially. I was going through and I was like, wait a minute. That's not the right color. But anyway, here we go. Now I've got it plugged in, isolation and all that, but I've got full line voltage. So I'm pretty confident everything, I've changed those capacitors, everything should be okay. We'll see. Flip it to standby. Well, that came on. Yeah, that's pretty bright. So yeah, you wouldn't want that right in your face all day. That's for sure. If it's off to the side of the bench or something, maybe it won't be no big deal. Let's have a little peek back here. All the tubes are lighting up, so that's good. And showing no voltage on anything. I can see. So let's flip it on. How's the voltage though? Moved just a little bit and then settled back. There, it's on. And I'm hooked to the 400 volt side right now, so let's bring that up. And we're getting voltage. Yeah, we're not getting voltage here, are we? So we got something to troubleshoot there. But on the external meter, there's 400. There's maxed out, and it's about 425 volts, 430 volts right there. 429. Okay, it's coming down. It's not quite zero. So there is an adjustment in here to adjust for zero. Find something to stick in there. I think this, what I got in my hands, quite going to work. Right in the back there's these little potentiometers I was showing you. Okay. We got to get back to this and see what's going on here. And then if you go all the way up, yeah, it's reading 450 volts. Let's bring that down. About 410, that's good enough. Go back to zero. A little bit negative there. There we go. Now, well, I can't see nothing. I'm just using this one right up here. This is the one I'm using. You can see if I go up to, I mean, I can see it real good. I can get the light right on it. That's about 420. And then that's about 0. So, make sure it's down, put it on standby carefully, because you gotta be careful. It's right there's 400 volts. If it's something ain't right, you don't want to touch that. So let's put this over here. We can leave that ground hooked up there. Let's put this on the, drop this down into the C minus. So I should be able to move this to here. And yeah, a little over 100 volts. Oh, let's do this. According to this, we're reading about 120 volts. And the meter up there shows almost right 120 volts. So, that tells us something right there. If we go back to here, see, it ain't reading nothing. If we go back to here, you can see this meter is working. So that tells us right there that it's definitely something to do in the meter circuit. So, that definitely gives us something to troubleshoot. Let's put a load on it. See if that works. Let's go back over here. Give it something like a couple 100 volts. Yeah. See that here, maybe. The glare is going to be off a little bit. Let's try. Yeah. So the current meter's working. That's about right. Okay, so that's working. Things down, go back to standby. Let's take these off here. Let's shut it off. Shut that off. Alright. Very carefully. Get back up here. And let's see here. Alright, so this will be kind of easy here, hopefully. If you kind of look at here at this schematic, this section right in here, where we got the meter, this is voltmeter. And you can see this flips one way to read the 400 volts, on the other way to read the 100 volts, the negative 100 volts. You can see the negative 100 volts is coming off over here, and this is working. We go to here, we know we're getting out here. I'm, put an extra meter on, I'm getting voltage. And it's reading fine, so that gives us down to this right here. That 400K precision resistor. And what's interesting is, I didn't check the precision resistors because they're usually spot on. So, let me have a look at this thing. That would be this one right here. So, let me see. Ohms. Times 10K. And again, if you work on anything like this or whatever, you're doing so at your own risk. Know what you're doing. So, let's see here. Clip this on here. Oh. Here. Huh. Yeah. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm mismeasuring that resistor. And yep, that thing's measuring nothing. Okay. Let me take it out and find a replacement, and I'll be back. Alright, you can see I replaced it right here, and what I've done was I found this is 390K, 39, I got those 4 zeros, 390K. I got a bunch of these, new old stock Allen Bradley, and I went through and I found this one, and the first initial thought was, well, I'll take a 390K and a 10K and put them in series, you know, make a 400K. But I found a 3 or 4 that was real close to 400, and this here was 404. So that's close enough. I'm just going to go with that, you know, especially since it's just for the meter. It's not nothing critical on the circuit. So let's try getting out. Alright, let's back off here a little bit. And we'll try it again here. Camera set back here. Let's do this all live here. I might take some of this out in post, but alright, so turn that back on. Turn this back on. Let them tubes warm up. Meter back on DC, 500 volts. We'll just see what the internal meter here does. And that should be getting pretty close. Let's apply that. Meter moved. You've seen that, but let me just go ahead and zoom in on that meter a little bit. There. Okay. You see how bright that light is here. Alright. Yep, there we go. And it's going past 400 volts. But it's not pegging and, like, you know, straining the needle on the meter. Which is fine. A little more than 400 volts is fine. As long as it ain't too bad. That's in 450 volt caps in there. But it's working now. So that wasn't too bad. So I knew once we got over here and this one here was working, and this one wasn't working, it had to be that resistor, but I wanted to, you know, show it to you on the schematic. So yeah, this make it bright red. This resistor right here, for some odd reason it failed. Makes me wonder if it ever really worked right. And that's the reason I wonder if the marks I had on here, the marks they had around this, you know, if you remember, a lot of them was kind of faded out, these little pencil marks, but I looked at it closer under a good light, and I could see it was like 60 volts, 100 volts, 150 volts, something like that. So makes me wonder if this, you know, from the start just didn't ever work right on this side, on this meter switch side. So I don't know. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and hope it's maybe helped somebody out. If so, reach down and give it a like. And I'll say Happy New Year to everybody. We've got plenty of stuff planned out for the rest of the year. So until the next video, this is Michael, KE4EST 73.